Have you ever had a piano student underperform, even though you thought he or she was well prepared? Well, today I'm going to give you 6 reasons why your student didn't perform as well as you expected. These, of course, are not the only reasons why your student might have done as well as you hoped, but they are 6 of the main reasons that I see happening for piano students. If we haven't met before, welcome to my home piano studio. My name is Jana Williamson. I'm a piano teacher here, and I love talking with other piano teachers and helping you teach your best. Reason number 1, the piece was too difficult. We all want our piano students to perform pieces that sound amazing and that they love. But allowing students to program pieces that are too difficult for them, either technically or musically, is a surefire way to set them up for not being able to play their best. This is particularly true for formal performances such as a formal recital or for an exam. Now, hear me when I say this does not mean that I don't ever let my students study something that is a challenge for them or maybe a little bit out of their reach. However, I am very careful when I help students choose their performance repertoire, that it's something that is definitely within their reach and is not too difficult for them. This is a topic that I have talked about at length. If you would like more of my thoughts on repertoire difficulty, feel free to leave a comment and I will be sure to respond. I also would love to direct you to my repertoire difficulty worksheet, which I will link in the description of this video, or you can click right up there to see another video all about that. But one of our main ways that we can set our students up for success in performance is by making sure they have good quality repertoire that is at their current playing level. Reason number 2, you didn't allow enough time for preparation. This is something that I think is really common amongst less experienced teachers, and it's something that really just takes time in knowing how long will it take my student to go from not knowing a piece at all to being able to play it in a polished performance. So I'm happy to talk with anyone about specific time frames that make sense for students at different levels. Obviously, beginning students will not need as much time to learn their repertoire as advanced students will. But I want to throw out one specific here. Regardless of how long it takes your student to learn a piece, I would always aim for adding an additional 3 to 4 weeks of study on that piece to polish it, to get it to go from you've learned it and you can adequately play it to being able to play it well under pressure. I also just want to add that for a performance where memorization is required, I do not think of memorization as a separate task once you've already learned the piece. I like to help my students analyze and memorize throughout the learning process. And again, if you'd like more of my thoughts on memorization, feel free to click up there for a video about that or leave a comment and I'll be sure to reply to you. Reason number 3 that your student didn't perform as well as you'd expected is that there were technical problems left unresolved. It's just a plain fact that you can't perform a piece well if you can't technically manage it. Technique and artistry are wholly intertwined. Playing the piano is all about making beautiful or interesting sounds, and therefore we have to play with a variety of techniques. Technique does not just simply refer to scales and chords and arpeggios. Instead, it is all of the movements that we make with our bodies in order to make sound at our instrument. So my hope for my long-term students is that they develop a technical toolbox that allows them to make all of these different sounds. For instance, a loud, harsh accent in Prokofiev is going to require a very different movement than soft, gentle, planing chords in Debussy. Along with this, I hope that my students feel equipped as they spend time with me in their lessons to solve technical problems in a variety of repertoire situations. As we teach, particularly our less experienced students, it's our job to help them solve technical problems, and I would advocate for doing this from the very first lesson on any specific piece. If you are a less experienced teacher, then you might not know all of the regular pitfalls in standard repertoire because you might just not have seen them in your students as much. Now that I've been teaching for over 20 years, I know what all the technical problems are in all the standard intermediate repertoire because I've just taught those pieces many times and I see the same problems happening with each of my students who play those pieces. That's one of the reasons I created my whole playlist of how to teach intermediate repertoire. And I will say that that playlist now has over 40 pieces in it. So I would love for you to check that out. If you are teaching a Clementi Sonatina or a Bach Minuet, it's likely that I've previewed that piece for you and given you some ideas of what might be the technical challenges. So you can look at that before you teach it for the first time or the second time. Previewing technical challenges with our students in the very first lesson on that piece is one of the ways that we can be proactive in our teaching and avoid the uncomfortable realities of reactive teaching when something has gone wrong and we then have to rehabilitate it in our students' playing. Our fourth reason that your student might not have performed up to his or her potential is that you failed as a teacher to facilitate the student's emotional connection to the piece so that he or she can play expressively. This is actually one of my favorite things to do in teaching piano, is to help foster that emotional or imaginative connection to a piece of repertoire that the student is going to play. And I love to do this with every single piece that my students study. So in order to talk about this, we need to do a little detour and talk about what art is and what music is. I feel like a good definition for art is that it is the creative expression of the human condition or the human experience. Music, therefore, is the live embodiment of sound performed in real time that is one form of art, that creative expression of the human experience or the human condition. So then music is not dots and lines on a page. Music is also not the practice of playing a piece, a prescribed series of notes without mistake. Unfortunately, that's what a lot of students think performance is, right? They think they have to sit down at the piano and play from the very first note to the very last one without making any mistakes. And unfortunately, when students approach performance like that, it's very dry and they usually don't actually play that well. And it's certainly not enjoyable for the audience. Instead, I hope to help my students think, what is this piece about? What might the composer have been thinking when he or she composed this piece? What does the title mean? What does this piece foster in my imagination? Can I think of a storyline that goes along with this music? And once our students can enter into that imaginative and creative pursuit, their performance is going to come much more to life. And I like to encourage them to share that with their audience. When we share something beautiful or exciting or invigorating, we are allowing our audience's imaginations to fire up and to come alive. And we are the creative facilitator for them enjoying a piece of art. So it's vitally important that we help our students along the way as they learn, what is this piece all about and what does this say to me and what might it say to my audience, so they can focus on that creative expression and that imaginative component and therefore give that gift to their audience. Reason number 4 is that your student lacked a healthy mindset around performance. Unhealthy mindset, in my opinion, is when students are too fearful of making mistakes or too focused on the judgment of others while they are performing. Because we spend a lot of time teaching our students how to avoid mistakes and how to fix problems and in general the right way to play things, it's natural for students to enter into this mindset where they think that what matters most in a performance might be going from the very first note to the very last note without making any mistakes. The difficulty here, of course, is that we are all humans, we are not machines, and it's unlikely, if not impossible, to actually play perfectly or exactly as we'd hoped. We are likely to play at least one wrong note, or to fumble one tiny technical thing, or to not do one dynamic change as much as we'd hope we might do. Therefore, it's really important for our students to understand the two different mindsets that go into work as a musician. There's one mindset while we are practicing and problem solving and really working on fixing things. And there's a totally different mindset that must be employed when we are performing. And that is that we do not allow ourselves to fix mistakes in those moments. We know that we must keep on going regardless. An unhealthy mindset in performance that is too focused on making mistakes can lead a student to generally negative feelings about performance, and it can contribute to performance anxiety. Ultimately, of course, this can also lead to a loss of motivation as well as interest in studying their instrument. If you'd like some more thoughts on performance anxiety, again, I have a resource for that. Just click up there and you'll find a video that I have titled, "What is Performance Anxiety?" All right, my last reason for you of why your student might not have performed as well as you thought he or she would is that the student didn't practice performing. This, of course, goes in line with the performance mindset. If our students don't actually practice the art of performing, they're not going to have practice in having a healthy performance mindset. And this is one reason that I advocate for students doing a lot of performing throughout their school year in a variety of contexts. And by performing, I mean from the most informal performances for their family or just for you as the teacher, all the way to things that are more formal and will make them feel a little bit more nervous or a bit more like they're under pressure. So it might seem obvious to us that there's a difference between practicing, again, where we're doing all that problem solving and fixing mistakes, to practicing performing. But I don't think that's always a natural understanding for students. I am continually on a quest to give my students effective practice techniques and to help them use their practice time efficiently and to use it well. Therefore, they should be using really creative and sometimes really bad sounding practice techniques to learn their repertoire efficiently and to be able to play it technically proficiently. However, when it comes to preparing for a formal performance, there are definitely times that should be set aside for practicing the art of performing. This means that students should not do any of the following: restart from the beginning when they have a mistake, stop in the middle to fix something, replay any notes that they considered to be mistakes, or mindlessly play through a piece without any mental focus involved. These are all extremely tempting actions for students, I know, because they happen in my studio all the time, as well as I am a mom who listens to children practice the piano, so I know what practicing actually sounds like. And so this is something that we as teachers must train our students in how to do. If you are looking for more ideas on ways to help your students perform, I would love for you to check out my course, which is titled Preparing Confident Performers. There will be more information about that in the description of this video, as well as another video that previews some things about that course. And of course, I am happy to answer any questions that you have about it as well. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Let me know your thoughts about this topic. Let me know other reasons why you think maybe your students don't always perform at their best. I'd love to hear from you.